This rookie wide receiver class is absolutely loaded, but it could be a little confusing. So in this video, we're going to break down the 10 best wide receivers in the 2026 NFL draft, and we're starting off with number 1. And even at number 1, it's not consensus, but for me, it's going to be Carnell Tate. I think he has the cleanest NFL-ready receiver skill set in this draft class. He is 6'2", out of Ohio State, so top competition. He also dealt with top competition on his own team for targets, and Jeremiah Smith, who will be a top 5 pick probably in a future draft. 6'2", 192 pounds, still only 21 years old. He's coming out a year early as a junior, which is a good sign. Now, if you were to see anything about Carnell Tate, maybe you're a casual college football fan, you don't watch it at all. Maybe you saw that at the NFL Combine, he didn't run fast. Adam Schefter had to come out and put these tweets up about, hey, he was faster than expected, he just started slow, and all these excuses. I mean, it was an entire saga if you follow the NFL draft or prospects or dynasty fantasy football, or you're just into this stuff, because he ran a 4.53 40 time, which, as you can see right here, according to Player Profiler, is 47th percentile speed score, which means just average out of all the wide receivers to attend the Combine. And again, he's supposed to be a first-round pick, potentially a top 10 overall pick. So if you have just average speed, that doesn't sound ideal, right? Especially because a lot of those wide receivers at the Combine were never drafted, were middle to later round picks. Like, it's not a glowing endorsement for average speed for a top 10 pick. So I get the concerns there, but I'm not concerned, because Carnell Tate is not a player, if you watched his film, that won with speed. It's not like this is some sort of big part of his skill set. He's not using this. That's not his play style. He didn't have that elite speed, the 4.3 or the 4.4 speed in college. He had this 4.5 speed, and he did just fine. Last year at Ohio State, 51 catches, 875 yards. A 16% target share might seem concerning to you, but keep in mind this was a loaded wide receiver room at Ohio State. Guys like Chris Olave had similar concerns. Garrett Wilson, when you're battling with so many players there, Jameson Williams had to transfer out of there and go to Alabama. You're battling with so many players, it's hard to get yours. That's what was happening to some extent with Carnell Tate battling Jeremiah Smith and other prospects. But this is still a player who scored a touchdown in 8 of his 11 games last year. If you pull it up and you see what he started to do towards the end of the season, where they really hit a groove against Minnesota, 9 catches, 183 yards. Wisconsin, 6 catches, 111 yards. Penn State, solid defense, 5 catches, 124 yards. A top 15 Michigan school, 5 catches, 82 yards. The one knock against him could be that in his final couple of games of the year, against Iowa in the Big Ten Championship, just 4 catches, 45 yards, although one of the best defenses in the country. Against Miami in the college football playoff, where they lost, 3 catches, 37 yards. Again, one of the top defenses in the country. Both of those teams, Indiana and Miami, went to the college football playoff for a reason. There was also quarterback concerns in those games as well. If you watched it, that was probably a bigger concern. But Carnell Tate, I mean, you can see right here, the Dogs podcast over on Twitter, is he just too good to pass up? The Browns have a potential chance to land him in that top 10. He ended up catching 86% of his contested catches last year, 0 drops, had over a 3 yards per route run. 3.02 is great. Anything over 3 is borderline elite. This is what you want to see out of a potentially elite prospect. Doesn't drop the ball, wins his contested catches. He's awesome from that regard. And that's now, it doesn't stop there either, because check this out. In terms of his success against man coverage, 3.12, against zone, 2.72. As an outside receiver who's going to win downfield, it makes a lot of sense that he was having more success against man, some one-on-one opportunities as well. And a lot of this is also going to be the fact that he was playing at Ohio State. Big Ten defenses. Ohio State plays big games out of conference as well to try and help their seeding for the college football playoff. We've seen it year in and year out. So that just makes the entire profile even better. Now, in terms of his strengths, here's what you need to know specifically. He's an advanced route runner. He has a high IQ when it comes to identifying zone. He has the NFL frame and catch radius. He wins contested catches, and he also blocks. And that element in terms of him blocking is extremely underrated. That's going to get him on a field sooner, get trust, earn trust from coaches sooner. Either way, as a top 10 pick, he should start right away, but the blocking will help. Now, the concerns are the naysayers on Carnell Tate, who might be trying to get one of these next couple of guys above him in the rankings, and they want to, tear his name down as a 21-year-old for some reason. Anyways, the weaknesses that they'll cite is that he could add a little bit of weight, right? He's 6'2", 192 pounds. I think he's fine. Would you like him to play closer to 200 pounds for his play style? Sure, but I think he's fine there. He proved that in college based on his tape. He's not a true burner. We already went over that. It's not a concern based on his play style. And we haven't seen him as a full-time number 1 receiver yet for his team, because at Ohio State he played next to Jeremiah Smith. I'm not concerned about that. I think he has the profile to be a number 1 X wide receiver who can also move around the formation some. And really, the NFL isn't concerned about this either, because as you can see right here on Mock Draft Database, the consensus is that he's going to be a top 7 pick, number 7 to Washington. Maybe he goes to Cleveland at some point before that. Basically, it seems like he's not going to make it out of the top 10. Most teams view him as a sure thing, if not the number 1 receiver off this board, one of the first 2 most likely. So you could expect Carnell Tate, his name to be called in the top 10. And for him, because of that, when it comes to fantasy football purposes, to be a very appealing rookie depending on the landing spot, which quarterback he has. It would be ideal if it was Washington with Jaden Daniels compared to like the Browns and their quarterback situation. Next up for me, I'm going to have Makai Lemon at number 2 right here. And I should point out that these rankings, and we'll do a top 24 rookies rankings next week, these will obviously change and we'll redo the rankings after the draft, because landing spot is without a doubt going to impact how these rookies are ranked, not just this year, but for years to come if you're talking about dynasty formats. But just for right now, looking at the NFL draft without that context, Makai Lemon right now, 5'11", out of USC, 21 years old, still 192 pounds, so a very similar weight prospect and age to a Carnell Tate, just totally different players though. This is going to be a player whose entire game is reliant on his separation, his instincts, his ability to catch everything, his slot dominance, also has high IQ like a Carnell Tate as well. That's why these guys are going to be first round picks. Now, Makai Lemon did not run at the combine, and according to reports from Dan Brugler, be sure to follow him, he ran somewhere for his 40-yard dash at his pro day between the range of 4.48 and 4.53, depending on the stopwatch that they were looking at. Now, for some people, they're going to point to this and be like, oh my God, that's terrible. Oh my God, that's awful. For this smaller wide receiver, we need him to be faster. JSN, Jackson Smith-Njigba, who was the best wide receiver in football last year, had the exact same range, 4.48 to 4.53 for his 40 time. So when you start to look at NFL next-gen stats, they have Makai Lemon as the number 1 combine wide receiver from a production standpoint, 30th in terms of his athleticism score, just because he didn't test, so they just have to put him last behind all the other players who did test, so that doesn't really matter as much. But what we want to focus on is this production, because in college, he was highly productive. For the 2 years when he was actually used, in 2024, he starts to get a little bit more involved in the offense, 52 catches, 764 yards, 14% target share. Then this past year, he finally gets to be the guy in that offense, over 100 targets, catches 79 of them, nearly 1,200 yards, an elite 26% target share for Makai Lemon, while also having 11 touchdowns. So in a not the full-time number 1 guy role last year, he succeeded, and then when he got that role this year, he took a step forward and produced even more in a major conference. In terms of some more metrics on where he ranked, this is courtesy of Scout DNFL on Twitter. His yards per route run in this class, number 1. His PFF offensive grade, run blocking grade, and receiving grade, number 1. The run blocking grade is highly impressive for his size at 192 pounds and where he was playing. That's awesome to see. 2nd in first downs, 4th in touchdowns, and 2nd in missed tackles force. This guy is fantastic. He really does, in my opinion, check every box. The film is there. He reminds me, I don't think he's as good as like Amon-Ra St. Brown, but in terms of like the prospect coming out, pretty similar there. And Adam Thielen, just these guys that you remember as being like slot dominant players. That's what he reminds me of. But if he needed to, he can move to the outside like a JSN. Now, last year in college, he faced 5 ranked opponents, and in majority of these games, he was fantastic. The Illinois game is the first ranked opponent he faces, 11 catches, 151 yards. Then this Michigan game right here, 9 catches, 93 yards. Notre Dame, 4 catches, 76 yards. Some of the best defenses in the country. A number 21 Iowa, 10 catches, 153 yards. He was absolutely dominant, had 150 or more yards against multiple ranked opponents last year. That is all fantastic. Now, the key strengths that you should know when you're thinking about the name Makai Lemon, if you see him drafted on draft day, are the following. He has quick feet, sudden acceleration. His route running is great. He has a feel for zone. His yards after the catch ability is awesome. He's tough, and he can contribute on special teams as well. Here's a nice cut up of some of his tape highlights, courtesy of Snoop over on Twitter. You can check him out. You're just going to see a lot of great things from him. He knows where defenders are. He knows exactly how to get, even if it's just 1 more yard after contact. Now, some people will point to the cons in his profile. Of course, there are some. He's not a pristine, like a Jamar Chase type prospect, Malik Neighbors type prospect. Overall, he's been pretty slot heavy, not as much work on the outside. Doesn't have the top end elite speed as we saw based on his pro day, but that's fine. And more physical corners can disrupt him on routes on the outside. But again, I'm not concerned about that based on where he currently is as a player. He's already NFL ready. And like a JSN, who took a year or so playing behind behind veterans like Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Took him a year or so to move from that slot only role to the outside, and then when that happened, a couple years later, he blows up and he's the best receiver in football. So Makai Lemon to me is a plug and play first rounder. A lot of people believe that maybe number 11 overall to the Dolphins. That could be helpful for Malik Willis, who doesn't have any wide receivers right now besides like Jalen Tolbert out there, Malik Washington. I also think the Jets are in play here for Makai Lemon. They have the number 2 overall pick. They're not going to take him there, but they also have that second pick now, I believe pick 16 in the first round. So maybe there's where you see a wide receiver go. At number 3 for me, it's Jordan Tyson. Some people have Jordan Tyson as the number 1 wide receiver in this draft class. I personally don't see it. I think at best he's 3rd in this draft class based on the information we have today. There's even a chance by the time the draft gets closer, or we have landing spots, that he would slide to number 4, maybe number 5 for me, but we really have to see where the landing spots are. But that does not mean that he's not a great prospect. Like I said, this is a quietly deep wide receiver class with some real top end talent here. You're going to have him being 6'2", 203 pounds. Like some of the other guys in this class, he's young, he's 21 years old, and this is a guy who was highly productive over his final couple of seasons in college when healthy. Specifically 2024, he was able to stay healthy, really the only time in his career, and he had 75 catches, 1,100 yards, elite 30% target share. He followed that up last year before getting injured with a hamstring injury, 61 catches, 711 yards, 23% target share. He was on his way to having another 1,000-yard season or so. Jordan Tyson is a different mold of receiver as the first two guys. He can kind of do what both of those guys do combined. He can win on the outside. He has enough frame there at over 200 pounds. He can move into the slot. He's a highly efficient player. And when you look at it right here, last season, in those 9 games before injury, 97 targets, just 1 drop. He's a reliable player. This is the type of guy that a lot of teams are going to want to take a gamble on despite his injury history. But his injury history is very real, and it is somewhat concerning. This is a guy who in the past, as you can see right here, according to Zcants FF on Twitter, he's dealt with an ACL, MCL, and PCL injury. That was all the same injury to his knee, a collarbone fracture, and hamstring injuries that apparently are still affecting him as of somewhat recently. As you can see right here, according to Dr. Jeff Mueller on Twitter, it's been 3 months and 21 days since Jordan Tyson last played a game because of his hamstring injury. Apparently, he won't practice at his pro day. Also sounds like his hamstring may have flared up during his training for the pro day. So looks like he's still dealing with this hamstring injury, which means it's a good chance it's like a grade 2 if he re-injured it, or it's not ready by now, 6 to 8 weeks or potentially multiple months now. This shouldn't be like a long-term thing, right? Unless you're Christian Watson and it takes a couple years for you to get your hamstring situation right. So I'm not as concerned about these injuries since the ACL was years ago now for Jordan Tyson. His most recent injury is a hamstring. Before that, it was a broken collarbone. Like, that's not really soft tissue. That's bone. That heals completely fine. That's a freak injury. So I'm not as concerned about the medicals, but you would like to see him test somewhat. Like right now, we don't have any workout metrics because of the hamstring injury, and he's not going to test at his pro day. So we don't know what these workout metrics are. But if you watch the film, you start to understand why teams are likely going to take that first round pick on Jordan Tyson. When it gets closer to draft time, you're probably going to see him get ramped up into being a top 20 pick. This is a mock-up of some of his plays. I'll let this run. This is from Play From Keeps over on Twitter. Appreciate them for that. They only have, I think, like 179 views on this post. Let's get them. There we go. Some more, because this is a quality pick of some of the Jordan Tyson's plays from last season and how just fantastic he is. He's an absolute demon when it comes to route running. He can track the ball well, and he wins at every level of the field. And as you can see from that play right there, easily after the catch is a big play or a big part of his skill set. Big playability over the middle of the field right there. Catch and run, high IQ, has the hands, has the speed, we at least assume so. There's also his basketball background, which shows up in some contested situations. Obviously, on this play we're watching right here, he's wide open, but he's getting open. He's getting open based off of his release. You can see right here another option where you're going to have that big playability, jump ball, basketball skill set, box your guy out, go up and get the ball. This is what Jordan Tyson does. The problem is the injury history. You might see some press coverage concerns based on his tape in college, but I don't think there's a lot there. If he's healthy day one, I think he's going to be starting in his rookie season and being productive. Jordan Tyson is yet again another wide receiver. We might see 5 or 6 of these guys go in round 1. He should be going top 15 overall. I think like consensus is mocking him to the Rams at 13. That'd be crazy. If you run out Puka Nacua, 1 more year of Devontae Adams and Jordan Tyson out there, that would be absolutely ridiculous. There's a chance this is another fit for the Jets at pick 16 out there with their second pick in the first round. Jordan Tyson, these 3 guys are kind of in a tier of their own. I would argue there's another guy who should be in this tier. We'll talk about him a little bit later on, but he's kind of landing spot dependent. Now, before Before we get into the next player, I've got something great to share with you. I've teamed up with DraftKings Pick 6 to give you more ways to enjoy watching the sport you love. Now, here's how it works. You pick more or less on 2 or more player stats, and with the NFL season over, it could be basketball, points, rebounds, and assists, or any other sport you prefer. So it's simple. There's no complicated rules. You just pick more or less on the player stats you like, and as your picks hit, you stack up your returns. Now, here's the part you need to hear. New DraftKings customers deposit $5 and play free with $25 instantly in bonus picks. And it gets even better because they're also giving you up to 100% in a winnings boost. And make sure you use code SAL when you sign up and deposit to take advantage of this offer. So download the DraftKings Pick 6 app today, get in on the action, and sign up using my promo code SAL to ride the upside. In partnership with DraftKings Pick 6, the crown is yours. Number 4 is going to be Omar Cooper, the first of 2 Indiana wide receivers we'll talk about. He had a great combine. He weighed in at 6 foot, 199 pounds. Kind of like a Mekhi Lemon, but in different ways. He's like a more explosive Mekhi Lemon, not knocking Mekhi Lemon. They just win in different ways, but they both played out of the slot. Omar Cooper dominant out of the slot, and at the combine runs a 4.42 40 time, faster than I think a lot of people, including myself, expected. I was probably thinking closer to 4.45 there, so that's great. We know he has fantastic speed. Wasn't the 4.3s to put him in like a different level of potential prospect, but it's enough for him to probably end up going in the first round of the draft. And to me, that makes a lot of sense. When you look at his history, you really can't look at any of his history before 2025, because this Indiana team, thanks to the transfer portal, thanks to a new coach coming in, they get Fernando Mendoza, they rebuild their entire offense and team in general, and they win a national championship. Anything before 2025 is just not the same offense. It's not the same team. It's nothing to look at, right? The player that you got in 2025 was great to see when everything changed. 70 catches, became more of a powerhouse offense with Fernando Mendoza, future number 1 overall pick, 961 yards, 21% target share, while competing with another NFL, probably 3rd round pick or so in this year's draft in Elijah Sherratt. Omar Cooper was fantastic out of the slot. One of the best wide receivers in college football last year. Here's some more stats that back up some of the stuff I was talking about. According to NFL Draft Dome over on Twitter, he's sure-handed. He only had a 4% career drop rate, caught 56% of his contested catches for a slot, mostly wide receiver. That's great. He has the foot speed to get vertical based on his 40 time. We know that. He worked both outside and in the slot, mostly in the slot last year, a lot more reps on the outside in previous seasons, and he could stop start ability, short yardage king. He's great in the short area. Omar Cooper is going to be a problem in the NFL, and usually this type of player, like slot only. You think in the past Jerry Jeudy, but he transitioned out of that. Like same for JSN, ended up transitioning away from that. Chris Olave to some extent got labeled that as well due to his size. But Omar Cooper can win on the outside, and he shows that he has the speed, contested catchability on his tape to do so. Some more metrics here. Out of the slot, 2.47 yards per route run is great. He's a 21-year-old early declare as a junior, 83% of his snaps from the slot last year. He kind of reminds me, Player Profiler compares him to Calvin Ridley. I would say he's like a more gassed up version of Calvin Ridley, a faster, also younger prospect than Ridley was coming out. Omar Cooper, if we look at him where he compares in terms of all the wide receivers to enter the NFL since 2019, passer rating when targeted, so just how efficient his quarterback was when targeting him, he is 4th all time since 2019. So over these past 7 years or so, only CeeDee Lamb, or he's actually top 3 all time, only CeeDee Lamb and Malik Neighbors had a better passer rating than Omar Cooper. That's worth mentioning, of course, when those guys are both bona fide studs in the NFL. Now, in terms of his strengths, and you'll see some of them here in this clip against Purdue in a game where they're up by 30 plus, but in the third quarter, they're still chucking the ball downfield. You'll see the hands, you'll see the catch radius. He has the ability also to have yards after the catch. You can see right there, it doesn't go down on first contact often. And this is a guy who's a slot only player, winning on the outside, taking it in for a touchdown. It's a fantastic play by Omar Cooper. That's going to be one that coaches, and let's watch it again, are going to be looking at nonstop vertical speed, acceleration, stop on a dime, beat multiple defenders, wins in the slot, and as you can see right here, also out wide when asked to do so. Now, the downsides to his game, the route running could use some refinement. He often will lean on his athleticism, which isn't going to work as much when you're facing the most athletic players in the world in the NFL, the pros of the pros. A little bit inconsistent with the production, but like I said, don't really look into that. 2025 was a totally different team in Indiana, and the route tree can use some work, which is the case for like most rookies out there. I do think that Cooper's going to go in round 1. There's a chance he goes 16 to the Giants. There's a chance he ends up going to the Steelers. I think he'll be a top 30 overall pick in round 1. Next up, let's go to a different type of wide receiver, similar to like a Carnell Tate mold, but more so, even more of an X wide receiver, and Denzel Boston out of Washington, weighed in at 6 foot, 212 pounds at the combine, and that's all he did. He didn't do any of the athletic testing at the combine. We don't know what that's going to look like. Probably wasn't going to be great. Probably was going to run mid 4.5s, maybe even 4.6s, probably would have hurt his stock in this draft where he's already a fringe first round pick. Didn't want to hurt that. Agent made a smart move. Don't run or test at the combine. And he's just a totally different flavor. He is like your standard X outside wide receiver, go up and get it type guy. He had good production the last 2 years at Washington, a team that wasn't throwing the ball a ton. He had 800 plus yards in back-to-back years, 60 catches in back-to-back years, a 25 and 26.5% target share. All these numbers are fantastic based on how often Washington was throwing last year. And this is just going to be a guy that I would say is going to be a boundary outside receiver. When you look at the game logs last year, Ohio State, #1 team in the country, shut him down, 3 catches, 26 yards. But after that, found success against ranked opponents, 10 catches, 153 yards against Illinois. To end the season, he ended up having 6 catches, 126 yards against Boise State. So some of the tape looks good. Some of the tape looks bad, like against Ohio State, but he's facing some like future and about to be first round picks on that Ohio State defense. According to Player Profiler, this is where the workout metrics would be, but we don't have any from him as of this recording, none from his pro day either. Dwayne Bowe is his best comparable player. You know, Dwayne Bowe, great player if he ends up being that. I do think the play style makes sense there. We don't have the athletic testing to see if that's anywhere near an accurate player comparison, but from a play style, from a production and film standpoint, it does make some sense. He's going to win with his frame. He's going to win with his route detail for a guy on the outside, and he positions his body well to create separation. Now, this rep right here on Twitter from NFL Draft Pro, I believe he got the footage from Rob Paul. He credits right here. This is like the perfect rep to be calling to for everything I just said, how he positions his body, how he leans on his frame. All this is fantastic. He gets leverage, uses the body, hands are strong as well. Touchdown downfield on the outside for Denzel Boston. And if you watch a lot of his cut-ups, you're just going to see that nonstop. This is posted by NFL DF over on Twitter. Be sure to follow them. A lot of the cut-ups here are going to be very similar things. He's going to be on the outside. You're going to see a lot of right there contested catch, knowing what to do with his body, manipulation, route running, intermediate dominance as well, red zone value. There's enough long speed there to have plays like this right there where he takes a defender with him down to the 1 yard line. Denzel Boston, love the red zone footage here as well. Back pylon, great throw, one-handed catch. You're going to get him here once again. Fade, back pylon, two-handed catch, goes up, gets it, high points the ball, manipulates the defender to think he's going elsewhere with that. So Denzel Boston to me, X wide receiver, will be probably a first round pick, maybe early second round pick. The downsides, we already know. He's a bigger body X wide receiver who didn't run the 40. So we're not expecting this guy to have acceleration. We're not expecting him to have great speed, change of direction, right? He didn't do the 3-cone for a reason. So he'll struggle versus man at times because of that. But he's just fine overall in terms of what he's going to be asked to do in the NFL as a boundary receiver. First round pick, most likely. Top 30 consensus according to Mock Draft Database. Some teams recently have put him to the Patriots at 31, the Bills at 26. Bills at 26 when you drafted Keon Coleman feels a little bit gross. They're similar archetype, not exactly the same, but similar archetype type players. 16 to the Jets feels a little early, but I could see it. 21 to the Steelers. 30 to the Dolphins with their other first round pick makes sense as well. All right, now I want to get into my number 6 receiver, who I actually think, depending on where he lands, and this is very important, could arguably be a top 3 wide receiver in this draft class, because Casey Concepcion, I watched him as somebody who lives in Texas. I live in Austin, so I'm seeing a lot of Texas games, but he went to A&M. They're big rivals, so I'm watching a lot of the games with my friends who are from A&M. Like, Casey Concepcion, not even like watching the All-22 film, when you just watch his game tape, this guy is different. He's a different cat, whether it's a return game, using him in the rushing game, or using him as what he was, a legitimate wide receiver, maybe the best route runner in this class. And then I turn on the film and I'm like, I don't know if there's more than 2 wide receivers in this class that are better than this guy. 6 foot, 196 pounds. He didn't test at the combine, as you can see right here, but he did attend the combine. And by all accounts, based on all the reporting and what we got to see on the TV version, right? Like the gauntlet drill, whatever it was for him, the testing, everything looked good for Casey Concepcion. So even though he didn't do the 40 time, everything else, like gauntlet, some of these pass catching drills, he absolutely stood out and probably had the best day from that standpoint, especially with his gauntlet score overall. And some people will say the gauntlet doesn't matter. When are you ever going to be running in a straight line, having to catch balls from different directions? It all matters, in my opinion. It all matters. We get more film, we get more information. For that one specifically, it shows how you deal with pressure, how you deal with stress. Teams, whether you like it or not, are going to factor all of this in. And he showed up and he was a professional, just like he showed up last year at Texas A&M when he transferred from, I believe, yes, NC State, North Carolina State. Shout out Raleigh, North Carolina. And then last year, 61 catches, 912 yards, 26% target share. Every single year of his college career, he was the dude. In his first year, 28% target share at NC State as a freshman, then 23%, then 26% despite transferring to a new team, dealing with a whole new system, playing with a quarterback who by like college standards was fine, but overall wasn't great by any means, almost got pulled a couple times last year. And you're still getting this fantastic production out of KC Concepcion. The guy's absolutely dynamic. Early breakout age, according to FF Marvin over on Twitter, 96 percentile freshman season, positive career experience and adjusted production, just continued to produce no matter what. And then you take a look at what he did against ranked opponents. Top 10 Notre Dame team, 4 catches, 82 yards. And a good Auburn team, 7 catches, 113 yards. You scroll down here to a gauntlet of matchups against LSU and Missouri. Against Missouri, 4 catches, 84 yards. South Carolina, 7 catches, 158 yards. Texas at the end of the year, 5 catches, 57 yards. You're talking about some special teams return touchdowns in key moments for this team as well during that span. Like in the game against LSU, big returns as well. So this guy is fantastic. Please look on YouTube at highlights. If you can find all 22 tape, it's harder to find on there. Watch that. There's an awesome cut up right here on Twitter that you can watch from Mark Kinley over on Twitter. It's an 11-minute cut up of KC Concepcion. It's fantastic. Like, we'll let some of it play right now, but as I talk through some of his strengths, I mean, again, I think this guy could be the number 2 or number 3 wide receiver in this draft class. He has separation. He has yards after the catch ability. Let's just look at this right here. The guy is fantastic. Outside leverage right there. Takes 2 tacklers to bring him down. We scroll through a little bit. He could play on the slot and out wide, fits most schemes, smart player, tough, strong hands, scheme touches. He's an absolute weapon. Here you go right here in open space. He's just going to pick up another 15 yards after contact. Let's see another play right here just to see this one. Watch this whole 11-minute cut up. It's not just the highlights. It's everything that this guy does very well. Downfield usage as well. There you go. Comes back to the ball, gets inside, takes multiple tacklers to bring him down. They don't. He scores a touchdown. KC Concepcion is going to be miscategorized as like a gadget guy. He's not that. Gadget guys are not winning 30 yards downfield, winning a contested catch like we just saw in that play, and then dragging multiple defenders into the end zone. Now, the weaknesses to his profile are his size. He's 196 pounds. He's not like going to be just a jump ball, Denzel, Boston, Cardinal Tate type guy, but we already know that. He doesn't have the true home run hitting speed, and if he did, he probably would have ran at the combine. We'll see if he tested his pro day. As of right now, we don't have any of those metrics. And overall, physical cornerbacks might be able to outmuscle him, but I think he wins in different ways. I don't think there's much not to like about KC Concepcion. I believe he should definitely be a first-round pick. Right now, he's being consensusly mocked at 21 overall to the Steelers. That would be awesome for them. Imagine an offense that has DK Metcalf next year, Michael Pittman, and KC Concepcion, and then one Pittman or Metcalf walk the year after that. You're going to have him taking on a larger role. KC Concepcion, to me, is fantastic. We just can't get him in a bad offense with a bad quarterback that doesn't use him properly, waste him as a gadget guy. If he lands in the right offense, imagine this guy in the Kyle Shanahan 49ers offense, Sean McVay Rams offense. He would be fantasy relevant for sure, and maybe a stud in the NFL. So remember that name, because depending on where he lands, he might be my number 2 wide receiver in this draft class. Now, number 7 here, Elijah Sherratt, the other Indiana wide receiver. He was more of your outside wide receiver at Indiana, not your like explosive slot guy who can play on the outside like an Omar Cooper. 6'2", 210 pounds, 22 years old, and all he did in college was score. All he did was score. Last year, 15 touchdowns, but he commanded nice target shares. 21%, 24% target shares the past 2 seasons. Last year in college, 15 touchdowns. Every year in college, at least 8 touchdowns. He is a red zone body. He knows how to win in the red zone. And the nice thing about him was that he transferred, which teams like to see. They like to see players transferring. He transferred when he had 1,200 yards or so at JMU, went up, goes to Indiana, faces tougher competition in the Big Ten, puts up 957 yards on a 24% target share, puts up 806 yards while competing, like we said, with Omar Cooper on a 21% target share and 15 touchdowns. So he moved up in competition and he continued to produce. NFL teams will absolutely love that. It's not an accident. This guy has skill. This guy is going to be good. He'll probably be like a 3rd-round pick in the NFL. As you can see right here, he leads this draft class in routes run, receptions, and yardage. So not only is he productive, in order to do this accounting stats-wise, you have to also remain healthy and be reliable. He's a chain mover who also showed up in the big moments. You could see right here, Daniel Flick over on Twitter against some of the ranked teams last year, or some of the better teams in the Big Ten, versus Illinois, 9 catches, 92 yards, multiple touchdowns. Against Iowa, 7 catches, 157 yards, game-winning touchdown. Against Oregon, 8 catches, 121 yards, go-ahead touchdown. This is a big-time wide receiver who will show up in big-time moments. Elijah Sherratt is somebody who will be a quality player. He's not going to be probably a number 1 for a team, but a number 2, number 3 option for sure. Sort of like that Romeo Doubs build in some ways. chain mover, hands, body control, big in the red zone, big in big moments. Downside is the long speed. We know that. The route tree can use some improvement. We know that. Bursts off the line of scrimmage. We know all this. His yards after the catch isn't electric. Like, he's not Casey Concepcion. He's not flashy. He's not dynamic. He's not Omar Cooper, his teammate. He is good at what he does, and he does that well. Now, before we get into my number 8 wide receiver in this draft class, I just want to let you know that the Fantasy Blueprint is coming back for 2026. It's going to be now into year 5. And if you want to make sure that you get your Fantasy Blueprint this year for all your fantasy football leagues, a blueprint last year that helped thousands of people win their leagues, just enter your email right here and you'll get notified of when it drops. You'll get early access. Now, why is that important to go on this wait list when you enter your email? When you get early access, I'll send only that list. If you had the blueprint last year, you won't get it unless you're on this list. Only that list will receive an email a week before the general public gets it with the cheapest price offering of the entire year. So if you think you're going to get the blueprint, if you had it last year and you know you're going to get it again this year, don't wait until August when it's at its most expensive price. Get it, because there's so much more demand then. Get it right now at the earliest rate. Go to blueprintdrop.com. It's a link down below. All you do is enter your email totally free, and I'll send you that email a week before so you can be notified of when you can get it at the cheapest price point. Now, my number 8 wide receiver, and this is where you can start to go a lot of different ways. It's really just like depending on the flavor of receiver you like. It's going to be Chris Brazel. He's very unique. 6'4", 198 pounds. Some spots had him at 200 pounds flat, so kind of a difference there between your pro day, between the combine weigh-ins. So 6'4", 194 pounds. Tall wide receiver. Not usually the type of wide receiver you see go out there and run a 4.37. So he has the rare combination of being big size-wise, height-wise, and then having this elite speed as well. So that's very interesting, especially when you start to look at some of what he did during his time in college, where last year he breaks out at Tennessee, 62 catches, over 1,000 yards, a nice 22% target share after hovering around like an 18 and a 20% target share his previous 2 years in college. And if you're going to watch one game of him, you have to make sure you watch the Georgia game. Toughest competition he faces all year, 6 catches, 177 yards, 3 touchdowns. Now, we saw in the past guys like Jalen Hyatt have big games in this Tennessee offense. Fast guy out of the slot, vertical routes. Against Alabama, he had a massive game, right? Jalen Hyatt in prime time, and he busted. Pause. That would be the concern for Chris Brazel coming out of this Tennessee offense. He's not the same player as Jalen Hyatt. Like, he's not winning out of the slot. He's actually doing NFL relatable things, winning on the outside. Like, vertical slot players are not a thing in the NFL for a reason. That's probably why Jalen Hyatt has not panned out yet. But he was winning on the outside. Last year, he was number 10, or he was number 1 in deep receptions of 20 plus yards, deep yards gained, and deep touchdowns. All of this on 20 plus yard targets. So this is a guy who was great last year. He's going to be your deep play speedy weapon. If you look at some of his film, most of the film is going to be sideline, boundary receiver, winning with speed, winning with his size, downfield upside. You can see right here, this guy is a grown man. Get off of him. Doesn't go down with contact before the play. Should have been a flag. Takes it against Georgia. Those were one of his touchdowns. It ended up being a flag. Now, the weaknesses to his game, he has a leaner frame. He has concentration drops, which is a concern. Physical coverage can hurt him, which is going to definitely face in the NFL. So he's not a perfect wide receiver. He's probably a 4th round wide receiver. Maybe falls somewhere into round 5. Robbie Chosen Anderson, if you remember him with the Jets, the Panthers, he's kind of the comparison that you're getting from Player Profiler here. According to Mock Draft Database, expected to be potentially a 2nd round pick. Would be crazy to me. It's crazy that that's where he's projected. I think he probably lands in the 3rd round. If he's a 2nd round pick, somebody we have to definitely start paying a lot more serious attention to, depending his landing spot. Now, this next guy we also have to pay a lot more attention to, because I think Chris Bell is going to be one of the big sleepers in this draft class because of an injury that he had in November, tearing his ACL. He doesn't have anywhere as near as much steam as he should have, but this is a 6'2", 222 pound wide receiver, has the NFL size. We didn't get to see him weigh in at the combine because, yeah, he tore his ACL, so there's no combine results right here. But I think, based on his film, has legitimate real speed. Like, he is running past cornerbacks who have already tested in at the combine running in the 4.4s. He might have 4.3 speed at 220 plus pounds. He's an absolute freak. In this class, we don't have one of those guys. We don't have an elite speed at 220 pound wide receiver. With the speed, he's that guy. And based on his recovery, as you can see right here from a recent post, it seems to be going well. I mean, he's at PT. He's doing a little bit of shuttle. He's not pivoting, which you're not going to do at this point based on your ACL, but he's ahead of schedule. If he tore his ACL in November, let's say he even had to wait for the swelling to go down and he had a December ACL surgery, young player, just 22 years old or so, he should probably be ready for day 1, assuming no setbacks. So if that's the case, teams are going to start to hype up Chris Bell as a potential 1st round, early 2nd round pick. He comes from Louisville, where he wasn't playing with the best quarterbacks at all, but he still was able to, last year before the injury, have 917 yards, 27% target share, earn 110 targets, 72 catches, catches. This guy is fantastic. Turn on his film and it's really hard to see him not being a future NFL player, if not an NFL star. And if you look at this 3-game stretch against legitimate competition right here last year, you get a good Pittsburgh team, 10 catches, 135 yards. A ranked Virginia team, 12 catches, 170 yards. And one of the best teams in the country, Miami, who went to the college football finals, 9 catches, 136 yards. This guy stepped up during the biggest competitions. He is, in my opinion, the most underrated wide receiver in this entire draft class because of the injury. If he didn't tear his ACL, and again, it's a serious injury, you're drafting that guy, putting investment into him, you have to take it very seriously. But if he didn't tear it, he's probably a top 25, if not top 20 pick because of that size, speed, and what he was able to do and put on film last year. Here's a nice tweet from Dalton Pence. He chops up one of the game clips right here. I mean, Chris Bell, he has the speed, he has the release package, yards after the catchability. You're going to see it right here. What is this? 6 or 7 different defenders that he passes on his way to the end zone for a 35 or so yard touchdown. He is absolutely physically different than the other guys out there on the field. He stacks cornerbacks as well. We go watch another one of the plays that I found right here, according to AJ Cola, or just pulled by AJ Cola over on Twitter. This guy he's so different. I really like him. I hope he's healthy week 1, just for his sake, for his wallet based on where he gets drafted, and for our sakes as NFL football fans. This guy is different. Right here, wins on the slant, yards after the catchability as well, just breaking down tacklers, 3 guys to get him. Like, that's a very simple play compared to the big flashy touchdown he had before that. But you're going to talk about a guy who can just go out there and physically dominate on the outside for jump balls, but then also have enough speed and leverage and size to win on the inside, and he has great hands. He has a lot to like, and it's not gimmicky stuff, right? It's not like Treylon Burks getting all these screens when he was coming out. The downsides for Chris Bell, besides the obvious coming off of a torn ACL, would probably be that he, I would say, gets disrupted in the middle of his routes sometimes. Downfield consistency isn't always there, and you have that ACL risk. But again, like, route tree could be somewhat limited. A lot of these things are to be expected for a guy who probably goes in like the second round. Maybe a team takes a chance on him in round 1. He's currently being projected in the second round. Certain team fits are like late first. If he was to go there, the Raiders would be very interesting. A Raiders team that, besides Brock Bowers, I know that they signed some players in free agency, but nobody like Jalen Naylor, nobody that's really going to shock you or make you feel great as pass catchers for Fernando Mendoza. Chris Bell would be very interesting, especially if he's ready for September. Patriots, Bills, all these teams make sense. Chris Bell goes to the 49ers, and oh boy, I mean, they just drafted Mike Evans. That might only be like a 1-year thing. So this could be Chris Bell get healthy, come in mid-season, take over next year as the X receiver when Evans is gone. Could be why. I don't know if I said they drafted Mike Evans. You understand what I mean. They signed him to a 3-year deal that's really like a 1-year deal that they can get out of. Anyways, my number 10 receiver, Zachariah Branch, sort of like that gadgety guy that some people might put that title on, Casey Concepcion. He's that guy in this class for sure, coming out of Georgia. 5'9", 177 pounds. When you're this small, 177 pounds, you better run fast, and he did. 4.35, fantastic speed, had great burst as well at the NFL Combine. 10-yard split was also elite. So all of this is great, but you need manufactured touches. This is a guy who last year relied on a lot of quick passes, screens, was using the return game. That's maybe where he gets on the field sooner in the NFL. But as my friend Ray GQ points out on Twitter here, 58 of his receptions came on targets 5 yards or shorter. That is not great. That's like running back type production. 3 catches of 20 plus yards, only 3. And he only had 170 total air yards last year, which was last in the NFL. So when you see his total stats at a big school like Georgia against tough competition of 81 catches, 811 yards on a 24% target share, that's all fantastic. That looks fantastic. But at the end of the day, a lot of this production is coming on screens, it's coming on passes at or behind the line of scrimmage, and it just doesn't translate to the NFL for a 177-pound player. So those would be my concerns overall. Like, the strengths are obvious. The speed, the elusiveness, the start-stop ability, yards after the catch, big play possibilities out there. We just didn't see them as much on tape based on how Georgia was using him. They were using him on like these 1-yard out routes. If you watch his film, it's like so frustrating. Why are you using Zachariah Branch in this way? Try and get him involved in different ways. That being said, like, we're at the wide receiver 10 in this draft class. It's a loaded class, but even in the most loaded classes, it starts to fall off around like the wide receiver 7 or 8. So that's about the point that we're at. This is a guy who did go at a big program, and he won at that big program, even if it wasn't the greatest usage. And because of this, because he has Georgia on his helmet, I think it's going to help him get drafted earlier. He's projected to be a 2nd-round pick right now, which in my opinion just feels a little bit wrong, but I think think he's probably going to end up going there. Some potential team fits. The 49ers, that would actually make me feel more confident. The Seahawks wouldn't like that. The Eagles, I'd feel good about that one as well, but not in the first round. But these are some of the spots that you're seeing. So this is a loaded wide receiver class. Like I said, we're probably going to get 5, maybe 6, potentially even 7 wide receivers taken because this is not a good overall class across other positions. So wide receiver is a highly coveted position. Quarterback, obviously pass rushers as well, offensive linemen and wide receivers, they make a lot of NFL teams. So we're going to see them go early. I appreciate you all tuning into this video. If you want to see my running back versions of this video, it dropped earlier this week. You can check it out right here. And before you go, if you found this video helpful, be sure to hit the follow button and also the subscribe button. And also go to blueprintdrop.com so you can make sure you get on the list at the cheapest price for the fantasy blueprint this year.